There's death, there's destruction.
Global news impacts us.
We have to change the way we live. This is why we need independent media.
Hey guys, it's me. It's been a little bit of time, hasn't it? I know I'm sort of excited because I know a lot of you are looking at me and they're like, where's Kit? Who's this guy? Who's this guy on screen right now? Well, a few of you guys know me. I actually, for those of you that don't, I co-founded Hard Lens with Kit. I've been doing other stuff. I've been the guy doing 99 Perspectives, and Kit's out today, so I'm hosting. So for those of you that have been with us for a long time, I'm back. Also, so you know, me and Kit always had a deal. We had always had a pretty straightforward deal. Kit ever needs a day off, I come on and host. Took him a year, but we're here. So yeah, I'm back, and so we're gonna be doing a show together. I dusted off my live stream computer. I do hope that everything is working and everything sounds good. I have not turned this entire setup on in like a year. Oh man, yeah, he does deserve a break. He was just at a baseball game yesterday, so I was really happy to take over for him. Honestly, I've been waiting. As much as Kit's like, Daniel's gonna come on whenever he wants, I'm always like, yes, whenever you need to take a break. So here we are. Okay, we have some super chats. Let me deal with those real quick. From $5 from Rifsai F. It's just one of those days where you glue your thumbs to your chest and pretend to be a T-Rex. Is it really one of those days? Very nice. And then Eric, it looks like house spelled differently. Jank, Cedar, and Vanless Boys must be burning with jealousy watching Jimmy Dore speak to the UN. Oh, I have some. We'll get to that. We're going to talk about that. Just give it a second. So I wanted to just say to everyone, it's so great to be here talking with you guys. We got some amazing stories for the day. And yeah, it's good to be back. And I think it's really exciting. So if anyone in chat while I'm doing the show asks, who is this guy? Where's Kit? Tell them the fun story. Oh man, it's been a fun year, and it's been, honestly, it's been really so fun watching this channel grow with Kit leading it. And I almost felt like sometimes like I don't want to come on because I'll jinx the show. I mean, we'll see today how many people tune in with me here and my stuff. So yeah, Kit is out right now. He had to do something that he just couldn't schedule for later in the day. So I'm here. Yay. Yeah, I mean, I you know what I want, guys? I want right down the chat, and we're not going to move on until we get an answer. What is Kit doing? Only the most conspiratorial answers will be accepted. The winner will get a prize. Maybe that prize might be something simple like me reading their comment, but we'll see. But in the meantime, yeah, we got some really good stories for today. I'll give you guys a little rundown. We're going to be talking about Glenn Greenwald. We have some really nice videos. Kit actually did even though he's not here, he prepped the entire show for me. Very, very nice, because I was like, Kid, I haven't done this in a year. I kind of forgot how to do everything. He's like, don't worry, Daniel, I got you covered. So we got Glenn Greenwald talking about censorship, and we got Jimmy Dore at the UN, which was really cool. And then we got some Biden stuff about Biden it up. So let's see. Let me just really quickly see if anyone has some good theories yet. Kit are people saying Kit's watching? I'm sure he is. Oh, there he is. Yeah. Yeah, there he is. Yeah, he's in chat. Yeah, that's it. Okay, good. That's a good one. He enlisted with Azov. He went to propose to Lauren Bobert, because he can fix her. I think that's good. He's in Washington trying to organize podcasters against pants. I think that would probably be a safe bet. Oh yeah, no. It's like, I mean, it's like the only way. I mean, you're right about the pants, Alchemist. It's like if he would not come on. So I had to make it happen. Okay, and I'll round it up with a super chat from Eric. Kit and Tina are the new Kelsey and Swift. There you go. Oh, I like that one. Kit's interviewing Gladys from Team Orca. I think that's good. Okay, guys. Let's get started with the stories. Okay, let's go. So, and for those of you that are new, again, that haven't seen me, I'm a lot more concise than Kit. We'll see how that goes. Everyone. Okay, let's get started, though. We got stories. So here we go. Boom. It works. Okay, so we're starting with Glenn Greenwald, who is talking about misinformation. Something that we talk about. It's actually a huge part of the entire Hard Lens network is, hey, stories should be taught in a way that is even, fair. Even if you get like a mainstream perspective somewhere, you got to balance it out with the vast majority of regular people and real news and stuff that is actually trying to expose big corporations rather than protect them. And so it's well placed. So it's like, and people, like, everyone's talking about like Ukraine and everything right now, and like obviously the mainstream media is like duty bound to only say that it's good and there's nothing wrong with it and everything's wonderful, just like with Saddam and WMDs, just as Greenwald puts right here. Isn't it amazing how, like, every time we have this, remember when WMDs happened, and if you didn't agree with the war, you were a terrorist? Or when this happened, you were simply a Democrat and everyone else was a white supremacist? Or that this wasn't confirmed and it needed to be shut down. This is, of course, the media landscape that we deal with today. And sadly, with the landscape being dealt with the way it is by, all of the world, this is, okay, we are in what I call, I think other people call as well, late empire configuration. This is what the Roman Empire looked like before it collapsed. This is what the UK Empire, it's what most empires look like before they collapse. They have income inequality everywhere. The amount of interest they pay on debt is very high and growing. And like, if you look at like the fall of Rome, it's huge parallels to what we're dealing with right now, even with like the idea of like fighting over wokeness, which is really just an idea of fighting over social issues because the government is no longer willing to offer economic changes to people, and so all they have is really thoughts and prayers to offer people, which is effectively social issues, if it's just social issues, even though economic issues help social issues more than social issues help social issues. Yeah, it's a bit of a mouthful. So let's jump back into this video by Glenn and sort of I'll let him talk about it, because, I don't get paid as much as Glenn does because I don't have the experience that he does, so let's just let him talk.
Just this week, right around the time that these Russell Brand accusations emerged, there you see from Reuters, the UK's online safety bill is finally passed by Parliament. It was just passed this week.
Yeah, can I get some people in the chat to respond to this real quick? Okay, so the government doesn't like Russell Brand in the UK, and I guess the US as well. A lot of pharmaceutical companies, other places, also don't like Russell Brand. And then you have accusations that are only placed in the newspaper. All the people that are accusing are either not there or are replaced by actors who are speaking for them. And only after that are the police like, oh, we should look into that because we were told to look into that. How many people... Oh, and then YouTube, at the behest of the UK government, shuts down monetization. By the way, I was looking through a little bit of analytics. Just about every video that mentions Russell, it's like when we used to talk about Julian A. or whistleblower snowed in Russia country person. For the same reason, the YouTube algorithm now has, if you say that word, it'll go, can't talk about that, you don't get monetized. And remember, if you're not monetized on YouTube, or you're reduced monetization, that gray area, which is just about the same, you lose 75% of your video spread because the algorithm only wants to push content that makes YouTube money, which is, that last part's understandable from a content perspective and from a channel, from a platform perspective. But obviously, what does it mean when you can just snap a person out of existence? It makes us really happy that back when, what's his name? The Gay Frogs. Everyone knows exactly who I'm talking about. When he was knocked out, we said that was a bad idea. And that was back when it first started. So it's nice to see there are at least more people standing with us on this issue.
And before the ink is dry, before His Majesty has even given the royal assent, as I'm about to show you, British media outlets and politicians are saying, Rumble, we have this new law in our hands, and if you don't start obeying in the way that YouTube did without even asking, you may be banished from Britain. In fact, your executives may be subject to arrest if they try and enter the UK.
That's freedom.
Under this new powerful law that we have in our hand. One that they, of course, pretended was so innocuous in order to get it passed. Here's Reuters, quote, Britain's long-awaited online safety bill, setting tougher standards for social media platforms such as Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok, has been agreed by Parliament and will soon become the law, the government said on Tuesday.
And by the way, I always like to think that because the UK really is a lot more verbose on taking away people's First Amendment privileges. Let me just jump over and make sure everyone can hear, because that would be really bad. Yeah, it looks like we're good. Okay. Pull that back up. So it looks like this is how I always looked at it. So I mean, the modern world. He's not talking. I'm talking now. Yeah, the modern world was set in place at the end of World War II. You had obviously the America, who actually I'm gonna look while I'm pulling this up. It's getting us too far off track if I do. So you have America comes out on top as the world's new hyperpower. Every country that we, so again, I have to dig down on this. So you look at the levels of empire over time. You look at like the Roman Empire. We invade your land, we take your land, we give it to our soldiers when they retire. We enslave a third of you, we kill a third of you, and then the remaining third grows our wheat. That was the Roman system. That's how their entire economy expanded outwards, and they built their empire on that model. And so when they stopped expanding, that's when their empires started to collapse, because they just couldn't minister, even with all their advanced technologies and infrastructure and everything else. They just couldn't get to Germany and take that land. They couldn't take the Persia at a point, or would it be the Assyrians back then, or whatever it was. Whatever, yeah. And so then you have like the British version of empire. We go into an area, we don't have usually the numbers, we have the guns. If we really want to do a fight, we can do a fight, but we can't do a fight continuously everywhere all the time. We can go to an area, we set up forts and bases, we usurp control from the existing structure, and then we have a puppet. The puppet rules everything, and then our companies make a bunch of money so that we can do our industrial revolution process. Whereas the U.S. empire model is, we trade with you more than anyone else, and we put military bases in your land. And we do training exercises and such, but the reality is if you do anything against us, we'll find a way to go to war with you. Or the CIA will, at least. They're very good at that. So this goes back to Britain. So Britain, World War II, point of the story. Britain, in World War II, their job was sort of spy masters. They did all the spy mastering. They broke, they did the code breaking. They got all the German spies became double agents. Britain got really good at spycraft. That's how we have, even like 007. That's like that inspired history of them. And so this is what they do. Britain does this sort of stuff better than anyone else. And I mean better, obviously, in a not positive way. But they go for it first. They have cameras everywhere. This is their society. This is their post-empire collapse society is check in on everyone. Don't let anyone say something wrong that we disagree with, or else. So.
Technology Secretary Michelle Donlin said the bill was a, quote, game-changing piece of legislation. Do you see how they boast about how unprecedented these new frameworks are?
It's the pride of
quote, today this government is taking an enormous step forward in our mission to make the UK the safest place in the world to be online, she said. If companies do not comply...
For who?
Media regulator Ofcom will be able to issue fines of up to £18 million, $22.3 million, or 10% of their annual global turnover. Now, given the magnitude of that kind of punishment, do you think...
By the way, ironically, it's advantageous for us that the UK left the EU. Otherwise, this would propagate a little bit more than it has.
Think any company other than Rumble and maybe Twitter, depending on their commitment, is going to risk the punishments necessary to defy these governments, or simply decide I'd rather not do business in a country that forces me to deny to my adult users?
So this is a good point that he's bringing up, because this creates effectively two tiers of companies. if you're a YouTube-like company, you can't afford not to be in the UK. Even if it's a small, you can't, again, what is the most important thing any publicly traded company can do? 3% every 90 days growth. That's always been the answer. And so you can't just pull out of the UK unless you're making less money doing so and your lobbying's failed. UK's happy. I mean, we already know the YouTube's happy to go, okay, we're not going to look. We're gonna anything you want, we'll do. We need that money. That's our advertising dollars. We really need it. Rumble, other places have the ability because of their size and the way that they're distributed and the way that they're built, that they go, wow, if we go along with these laws, well, then we destroy the entire point of our network. So everyone's picking the decision that they were already set up to pick.
Political content that they want to see simply because the government orders me to censor. Now, we're seeing how dangerous this is in a very concrete example. I don't have to speak in the abstract here. I don't have to speak about the possibilities of this danger. I don't have to warn of the obvious slippery slope. We're seeing already how repressive this has made the UK and the US media, now desperate to punish Rumble for its defiance of doing what it's told.
Yeah. Okay, so I saw some people commenting on my mic. Is that better? Yeah, so this is the path that we've already been going down for decades. We didn't get to where we're at right here because of something that happened yesterday. We didn't get to here because of this bill being passed very recently, or in the process of being passed. We didn't get to here because of any of that. We're here because of the Big Bang. I mean, honestly, it all comes back to that. That's where everything starts, and now we're here. And it's all about the story of how we got to here along the way. And we got to here because we didn't challenge the UK's surveillance policies. And the reason we didn't is because the US was doing its own surveillance policies. It's amazing how after the Cold War ended, we're like, wow, we have all these bureaucracies and agencies that are really good at fighting the commies and all these other places. We got to do something with them. I remember the whole point of a lot of the censorship that we've been dealing with was like, well, ISIS is taken care of, but we have a social media bureaucracy that's meant to fight messages we don't like. I guess we'll have to do something about that so they don't get out of a job. I think the best way to fix this might be for us to make a government agency that's for truth and speaking and giving, wouldn't it be great if the government offered free lawyers to social media content creators that get silenced, that are paid for by the government? That might cause some changes to happen. It's, again, economic decisions are what makes people's lives better. Social issues are simply, they're not a good place to put your money in, because if you put your money in economics, you're going to get social issues as a side effect. If you just put your money in social issues, which is all that we're doing in this world right now, you're not going to get anything but people fighting over economic distribution of those social issues. So we have a second part to this. Let's check it out.
Will always be to allow only the most tepid and most obviously safe messages to be heard. I love Joe Biden. I'm here to cheerlead for the British Prime Minister. I love flowers. My favorite color is blue. Anything that is even slightly edgier than that is subject to being swept up in what will obviously be, by design, an overly zealous censorship regime that is being implemented by these tech companies out of fear that they will run afoul of these laws and their highly punitive fines. That's the best intentioned part of this law. Here's how much worse it is. Quote, a second tier of content concerns posts that are not in themselves illegal, but which are determined to be harmful.
Malinformation. You said something I don't like. I'm going to make that illegal. Man, imagine if we were in charge of these overly powerful organizations and just were like, hey, mainstream media,
Exactly what belongs in that category is unclear. It is left for ministers to decide later. But the government has talked about everything from vaccine skepticism and bullying to glorifying anorexia and hurling racist insults at Europe's football teams. Sites will be required by law to minimize the chance that children see such posts. For everyone else, they will have to make an active decision about whether to block or downplay such content.
Okay, I also want to talk about, like, think about this, guys. Like, we're watching this crunch happening over time on speech everywhere. Well, not everywhere, but it's spreading. You guys know what I mean. It's dotted and getting darker. Why? Why is the motivation there for this? It's not just, I want to censor. People have always wanted to censor things that other people say that they don't like. Why is this happening? It's the late empire configuration of America. We've run out of economic changes to make for regular people to make their lives better. And we need to silence people that are speaking about the things that the government doesn't want to do. We want affordable health care. That doesn't work with the lobbyists in Washington who have a stronger say than we do because they spend more money and are more integrated into that society. We have people that are in Congress that are pre-boomers, that have a mindset that they grew up with where televisions didn't exist. You have all these things of the era, all the past is all culminating into the present that we are in right now. And what is the result now? These governments are losing their grip on people's trust and obedience. And what do? They go, we're losing control. What do? Do we, A, fix the things about us that are broken? No, because they're not able to in their current configuration. Even if they wanted to, they really couldn't. They dug themselves in a ditch. They dug themselves a well, and now they can't get out of it. And instead of asking for help, trying to change things, or anything of that nature, what do? They try to shut up the people that are pointing out that they got themselves stuck in a well, because they're that weak. Ironically, all this happening, to me, is commentary on the implosion that's happening in these systems. Because this is not the action of a prosperous country.
Or to carry on promoting and recommending it as they would anything else on their products. Campaigners argue that these, quote, legal but harmful provisions amount to censorship by the back door and create an entirely new category of speech in law. You may remember that the new CEO of Twitter, Linda Yaccarino, created a lot of controversy and a lot of suspicion about Twitter's commitment to free speech when she recently spoke at a panel. And she described essentially exactly this framework, where she called a category of speech lawful but awful, meaning it doesn't fall into that first category of encouraging child pornography or violence or suicide, but instead it's this amorphous middle ground where maybe it's the sort of thing that has opinions that are bad.
The amount of energy that it takes to regulate this middle ground is more, by order of magnitude, at least, than it takes to monitor everything else. This is one reason Twitter was so bloated. Because you have to have a whole industry of, okay, if the Saudis call, they go over to Jim. Jim shuts off the posts and talking about letting, women drive or whatever. I know they recently did that after they killed some people for doing it. Hey, when the British call because you called scones biscuits, that's Pete over there. He takes care of it. Actually, when Pete's out, we have Jim. He does that. This is where this bloat comes from. When you have a very simple system, if you're breaking the laws of the country, which ironic in this case, I know with the UK, you just follow the laws, which ironically is sort of what most of these places do. But you don't bleed over. You don't go, the UK says you can't talk about this, so no one on YouTube. I have an issue with that. So if the UK wants to say you can't use the word scone, that's really stupid. But as long as it's only in the UK where they're governed and they have a chance to fight against it, I have an issue with it, but it's not my top issue. It's the problem is when Americans can't say scone that I have an issue. And right now, we can't say scone.
Like vaccine skepticism, and even though it's not illegal, it's still awful. And therefore, she said Twitter will do everything possible to minimize its spread. That's what this law requires these sites to do for this, what's called this new backdoor of censorship, where they're admitting the speech isn't illegal, but because it's, quote, awful to whoever's deciding that, it nonetheless has to be minimized or its spread impeded. Ruth Smeeth, a former MP and the boss of Index on Censorship, calls these provisions, quote, a clusterfuck. The government has tried to reassure doubters by pointing out that tech firms will be free to leave such posts up if they choose. Ms. Smeeth is dismissive. Quote, can you imagine the political pressure on any platform that publicly...
If you want to leave it up, it's fine. Just look at Rumble, how they lost Burger King as a result.
...says they're okay with this stuff. Those that decide to suppress it will again depend on idiot savant algorithms. This could have international repercussions. Tech firms may choose to try to apply the new law in Britain only. If they decide that it is too difficult to create a new set of rules for a subset of their users, one option is to apply at least some of the law's provisions to their services anywhere. There is precedent. Last year, Britain brought in the age-appropriate design code, which prescribes stricter privacy for children online. Google, TikTok, and others made worldwide changes as a result.
But we know these British kids. What they really want, they yearn for the minds.
In other words, once a country goes further than any other to impose censorship or to make a freedom of speech regimen more restricted than anywhere else, companies to comply won't do the work or spend the money to comply only for that country. They'll change their laws, their rules to make that censorship regime applicable in all countries because it's easier to do. So every time one country goes a bit further in its censorship requirements than any other, it doesn't just affect the people in the country that did that. It also affects everybody everywhere, including people who have no control over those governments, because these tech firms will comply on an international basis, assuming they don't care about free speech, which is true of Google and TikTok and Facebook, and will impose this censorship on everybody. Quote, another possibility is that some foreign firms, particularly smaller ones, may stop serving Britain entirely. In various ways, the price of safety may be silence.
Yeah. Yep. So I know I saw some people in chat that are like, have mixed opinions on Glenn. Perfectly fine, but again, a message that's good is still a message that's good. I don't care who delivers it. Also, really quick, I know we got a super chat earlier from Abadang71, who sent me a piece of pie. Thank you, I appreciate that. Let's see if I got anyone else. Okay. Oh, right. I should check on Rockfin to see if anyone said hello on Rockfin. No, right now we are good. There. Okay. Let me just double check. Sorry, guys. So getting a little used to the system, making sure I got everything working optimally. Yeah, we're set. Okay. Yeah, I know some people are saying my sound isn't the best. You're right. You're completely right. Actually, ironically, let me give you guys a little behind the scenes look. Okay, I actually have a really good mic that I'm actually using for my headphones, but the bracket that actually holds it to the desk, I had to give to someone else that needed it because again, I haven't used this setup in a year. So I am currently using a $25 microphone to hear me, and so if there are issues with the sound quality, you're right, it does exist. It is not as ideal as Kit's setup, but it is the setup that I have, and so I apologize for that. I do have the same exact webcam that Kit uses, and yes, and again, for the people that are saying Kit is kidnapped, don't speak about it. So I can do one thing. So is the mic generally too hot or too cold for everyone? Too yes or too no? Is it in? Is it out? Is it really affecting when I move my head around? Let me know. I will try to adjust for you guys so it works a little better. There's a Strange Brew reference. Okay, I don't know that one, Eric. So, yeah. Okay, sound is good. Yeah, I know it's not the crisp precision that you're used to, but everything else, we have basically duplicated studios in a couple different places. Okay, it did. Okay, I'll just move it closer then. And see. I do think, I gotta say, it's funny that I'm using a microphone as a headset, because I can't do it anywhere else, but just trebly. Okay. Well, this is what you guys get. I don't know. Okay, well, anyway, let's move on to our next story. So let's see. Close that. So, those of you I saw didn't really believe that this actually happened, but Jimmy Dore went to the UN and spoke. And I'll ask a question, but I was wondering, so is Jimmy Dore and we'll watch it, and you guys will have your answer, but is Jimmy Dore speaking a commentary on how much Jimmy Dore is at the top of this specific hierarchy of people talking about a topic, or is it more a commentary on how few people there are to speak on this topic that Jimmy Dore was picked? It's sort of a both and, either or, but I'll let you guys talk about that while we watch this. Oh.
Members of the council, I'm here to speak today about the attack on the Nord Stream pipeline that took place 1 year ago on September 26, 2022. 4 explosions ruptured the Nord Stream 1 and 2 pipelines that carried natural gas from Russia to Europe. It was the biggest act of industrial sabotage in human history, severing the main artery for energy from Russia to Germany, cheap energy that was critical to maintaining Germany's industrial base. We have heard every cockamamie and ridiculous theory on how this happened. Now, you don't need to be a genius investigative reporter to figure out who was the culprit of the Nord Stream attack. Incredibly, most Western news outlets ignore the fact that the President of the United States, Joe Biden himself, announced on February 9th, 2022, that he would in fact attack the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, saying, and I quote, "If Russia invades Ukraine, tanks crossing the border again, there will no longer be a Nord Stream 2 pipeline. We will bring an end to it. I promise you, we will be able to do it." Even with that pre-admission of guilt from the President of the United States, most of the Western press remained baffled as to who could have pulled off the greatest act of eco-terrorism in history. But luckily, we don't have to rely on my interpretation of President Biden's clear threat to attack the pipelines. We actually have Seymour Hersh, a genius investigative reporter with impeccable reputation and credentials, who reported that in June of 2022, United States Navy divers operating under the cover of a widely publicized summer NATO exercise known as Baltops 22 planted the remotely triggered explosives that 3 months later destroyed 3 of the 4 Nord Stream pipelines, according to a source with direct knowledge of the operational planning. And like all criminals, the perpetrators could not contain their elation over committing the crime. Shortly after the attack, many high-ranking U.S. officials could not help but brag about their achievements and expressed multiple times how they were proud of being able to put an end to the pipelines. Undersecretary of State Victoria Nuland said, "I am, and I think the administration is, very gratified to know that Nord Stream 2 is now, as you like to say, a hunk of metal at the bottom of the sea." The United States Secretary of State Antony Blinken called it a tremendous opportunity.
Do you think Britain is trying to shut down the UN right now?
To once and for all remove the dependence on Russian energy. You have to be a paid liar to not acknowledge the hand of the United States in carrying out these attacks. Not only did President Biden declare he would do this, but high-ranking U.S. officials have said similar things for years. We can look to 2014 when former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice stated that over the long run, you simply want to change the structure of energy dependence. You want to depend more on North American energy platforms, which is what this is really all about. An economic war between the West and Russia in order to fill the pockets of rapacious capitalists who actually pull the strings of the US government and dictate foreign policy.
Yeah, just a reminder for everyone. Saudi Arabia is effectively our client. I won't get on a tangent on that. Syria being invaded is so that remember, the U.S. really wants to be the one that sells Europe oil. We are making an excess of it. Canada is as well. And we want to make money off that. Obviously, we don't want to make money off of making our kids smarter, making it easier for businesses to start by not having to deal with healthcare. We don't want to fix our infrastructure. We don't want to fix our pipes. We don't want to upgrade our connectivity of our internet. Those are really stupid investments that have long-term positive ramifications. We want the shortest term, sell the oil while the oil is money view on things. And so we're willing to blow up countries and kill hundreds of thousands of people, as we already have, if that gets impeded. So slowly there's no pipelines that are going to Europe except ours. And we're happy to pay in lives of other people for the profit that will be made maintaining this process that Jimmy's talking about.
So let's pull back and take a look at the context in which this pipeline bombing occurred, shall we? It's all happening under the guise of defending Ukraine from an unprovoked Russian invasion. But of course, that's only true if you start the story of the Ukraine war somewhere near the end of the story instead of the beginning, which would indict Ukraine, the US, and NATO. The US and NATO are to blame.
Really quick, do you guys remember, it was just recent, how there's the TikTok trend that came out, and it's like, ask a guy if he thinks about the Roman Empire. So many people don't understand history, don't understand that all humans have the ability to do at a high level is repeat what is done before with different variables. It's a squared plus b squared equals c squared. You could put a dozen different numbers into that formula. You could put an infinite amount of numbers into that formula, really. But the formula is still the same. The Roman Empire fell the same way any hyper-level empire falls. From overexerting itself externally and ignoring its people internally. And the U.S. is... How much does it cost to get divers to set explosives on Nord Stream? It's not cheap. You could probably build a school with that money, but again, schools and empires don't mix. America is likely not going to be able to solve its problems while we're still an empire, because empires look outside their borders to bring in money for people that make money already. Meanwhile, it's like, if you wonder, like, why does every country in Europe have healthcare the way they do? It's because they're not empires. It's almost that simple. Obviously, there's a little more to that, but this is what the U.S. focuses on because this is all the U.S. can focus on because of the way, historically, the U.S. has been put together.
Which is why the Western media always leaves the origin of this conflict out of their coverage and leaves most people in the dark with a false version of the cause of the conflict. Most Americans believe that Vladimir Putin woke up one day and decided, for no particular reason, to invade Ukraine and start a war completely out of the blue. This is what supporters of the Ukraine in this war actually believe, because that's the only narrative they hear from their news media, which is funded by the people who profit off this war, the military-industrial complex, the fossil fuel companies in the West, and of course, Wall Street. To make a crude analogy of the Western media's coverage.
Oh yeah, so I don't know if this number's still accurate, because in my head, the number's like 8 or so years old. Maybe you guys can let me know if I'm off on this. But I think like a third of the U.S. economy is just Wall Street securities and anything kind of related to that bubble of investments, which means a third of our economy is just moving money around in very particular ways and not building anything because we outsource that to China. And we're like, oh no, China's a major power now. Again, a historical choice made in the past to try and deal with the power of unions and labor leads to the creation of probably the next empire. Maybe it'll be someone else, but China seems like a fair deal if they can outlast us. It's everything is obvious. The world always makes complete sense. It's just we may not see why in the moment, but it always does. Everything always happens for a reason, even if that reason is stupid, especially if that reason is stupid.
Bridge of the Russian invasion is the following. Let's say Vladimir Putin was standing on a bus stop and there was an old lady standing in the street and a bus was heading straight for her. So Vladimir Putin pushes the old lady out of the way of the oncoming bus and down onto the concrete sidewalk. The Western corporate media would start that story near the end saying Russian president pushes old lady down onto the concrete. The same goes for the entirety of the Ukraine-Russian war. The Western media starts the story of the war at February 24th, 2022, which is definitely not when this conflict started. They leave out the 2014 coup of the democratically elected Ukraine government orchestrated by the CIA in conjunction with Ukraine Nazis. They leave out the fact that the Russian-speaking ethnic population in the eastern part of Ukraine, known as the Donbass, didn't want...
Sorry, there's a little bit of a tangent, but he reminded me of it. So you know how that can't report on this. By the way, if you guys don't know, I watch the show probably 3 times a week. Whenever I get an opportunity to, I'm watching. I'm just kind of lurking so you don't see me. But I would love to ask the Prime Minister of Canada, who is his more right wing? Protesting truckers, or the Nazi you guys invited to your big hall? That'd be. And who should the greater amount of consequences go to?
Want to go along with the CIA Nazi coup government, and so the newly coup right-wing Ukraine government started shelling the citizens of the Donbass via their henchmen, known as the Nazi Azov Battalion, that ended up killing somewhere around 18,000 civilians in the Donbass. They leave out also, there was a peace agreement that was reached to end the shelling by the Ukraine government and the Nazi Azov Battalion, known as the Minsk Accord, because the people who broke that peace agreement was not Russia, but the Ukraine government and the Nazis. They leave out the fact that there was already an overall peaceful way to avoid war and the slaughter of hundreds of thousands of precious Ukrainians, which...
This gets down to another thing I've been saying. Do you guys know that Russia has the same GDP as Spain? Just let that sit in. We're fighting. The amount of money that America has thrown in to... And again, we make our money off of it. I mean, think about it. It's sort of brilliant in its nefariousness. We tell the countries in Europe, hey, send all your old shit to Ukraine. Let that meat grinder happen. We'll give you new shit to replace it. And so we then spend money on ourselves with the military-industrial complex to make stuff which we already had stockpiled for a long time. It's like, you've seen like those, like the Abrams tanks that are just like, oh, we got, that lot has like 1,000 Abrams tanks. We don't know what to do with them. They're there though. The government says to keep making them, so we do. And then that plane graveyard, those are planes. We don't know what to do with them, but they're, if we just spend a few $1,000s, we'll fix them up and make them ready. Oh yeah, we have these giant stockpiles of this or that. And so what happens is, it's just a shell game. We move the old European stuff and some new stuff, like the HIMARS and whatnot, over to Ukraine, take that out of everyone's stock, and then the European countries get our old stock, and then we spend money with the military-industrial complex to make new old stock. America makes money because all this money is effectively being spent on America. if you're a wealthy war profiteer, if you're Nicolas Cage in Lord of War, this is the best, most prosperous, most democratic time you've lived in. If you live in Ukraine, you don't have a house and half your family's gone.
Which was recently admitted to by the Secretary General of NATO, who admitted that it was the expansion of NATO onto Russia's border that was the real prevarication, and the US and NATO refused to stop their expansion onto Russia's border. All this amnesia is necessary for the continued aggression and warmongering of the US and NATO to be accepted by the citizens of the United States and Europe.
Oh, I'm sorry, I gotta say one thing. I apologize for keep interrupting Jimmy. Isn't it crazy how, like, when the Iraq War happened and then everyone realized it was a bad idea, they're like, we're never going to make that mistake again. And then the next thing happened in Syria and Iraq, and Afghanistan, we're never going to make that mistake again. Then in Syria, we're never going to make that mistake again. Then Libya, we're never going to make that mistake again. And then we get, it just, we know for a fact within about a 1% certainty, 1% error rate, how many people next year are going to die of a heart attack. We already know that in the U.S. That number is known. We have no idea if any of us are going to die of a heart attack. All this stuff is predictable on a big scale.
Well, I'm here to cure them of their amnesia and remind them of the true cause of not only the Nord Stream bombing, but of the entire Ukraine war and the destabilization of the Middle East, including Libya, Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria. The reason for that is the imperialistic lust of the United States empire. The U.S. now has over 800 military bases around the world without being able to cite an actual threat to their sovereignty. The U.S. is now ending its empire the way all empires end, by overextending itself militarily, while it starves its own people at home. The real threat is the threat of U.S. economic interests. The U.S. has for decades feared German engineering and capital joining Russia's natural resources and manpower. As elucidated very clearly by the founder of the U.S. intelligence firm Stratford, George Friedman, in his 2010 book, says, quote, Russia does not threaten America's global position, but the mere possibility that it might collaborate with Europe, and particularly Germany, opens up the most significant threat in a decade, a long-term threat that needs to be nipped in the bud. Therefore, maintaining a powerful wedge between Germany and Russia is of overwhelming interest to the United States. For the U.S., Friedman added in 2015, the primordial fear is German technology and German capital, combining with Russian natural resources and Russian manpower to form the only combination that has for centuries scared the hell out of the United States. In this showdown, the U.S. aims to control the line from the Baltics to the Black Sea. Russia, by contrast, must have at least a neutral Ukraine, not a pro-Western Ukraine, because a neutral Ukraine would impede the primordial U.S. goal of a Russian-German fissure. The U.S. has opted for a proxy war instead. The Western governments are silent, even as the U.S. says through anonymous sources that Ukraine is responsible for the Nord Stream attack, but they won't blame them publicly. And so the United States continues to arm Ukraine to the teeth in hopes of extending the war and avoiding peace. The Germans say it's Ukraine, but will not release their official investigation and will not make an announcement. The final obscenity is that the people in the West who claim to be environmentalists and claim to care about climate change and the environment say nothing about the worst release of methane gas in human history, but in fact, whose actions reveal they don't actually care about climate change and continue to support this war and its eco-terrorism. In a bizarre twist, even Greta Thunberg traveled to Ukraine to meet with Zelensky after the Nord Stream bombing. Thank you for allowing me to speak.
There you go. I can tell right now. There we go. I can tell right this minute someone in the UK is really unhappy and wants to get that taken down as quickly as possible. Also hate everyone in chat. I've been reading them. I need more conspiracy theories about where Kit is right now and why I'm on the show while he's taking his day off. We frankly just don't have enough. I need you to keep writing them in chat. Let me really quickly see if I missed any chats that I have to read out. Looks like everything's still going. And I apologize to the people that are on anything other than Rockfin or YouTube. I didn't get your stuff set up. So if you're saying anything, or you send a chat my way, just annoy Kit tomorrow. He'll read it. I don't have it up. Yeah. So Jimmy, again, what can I say about what Jimmy said that isn't what we already talk about all the time? This is a formula playing itself out. The variables change every year, but the formula is exactly the same. America is the hyperpower, and so its entire job isn't to fight enemies, it's to fight people that are potential enemies, which is anyone with growth. I mean, effectively. It's like, Facebook's like, oh my God, Instagram, that's growing really fast. Better buy that or better destroy it. Whatever else it might be. Oh, man. Let's see here. So it looks like we have this. Miguel H is letting me know that we have a chat from Rumble. Oh, are you sending me Rumble chats? I appreciate that. Okay, so Rumble at Hardlands Media, Rumble rant. IBCat1 supporter sent $5. Miguel, thank you so much. Keep doing this if I don't see it. Hey, you boobers, come over to Rumble. The water is fine. And by the way, Rumble taking a stance for free speech and holding themselves to it at a personal cost, something I appreciate. So appreciate everyone watching us on Rumble and everywhere else that we're broadcasting to. So keep letting me know, mods, if I'm missing everything. Yeah, Tracy Jones, Dan, glad to see you. Wish you trip. I feel like Kit's doing such a good job. I'm just gonna jinx it if I'm on when he's on. Plus, I'm not much of a morning person. I actually woke up 2 hours early, just so I would have the energy to do this. I was really excited. I was, that nervous, excited. Like, oh man, I haven't hosted a show in a very long time. I forgot how everything worked. But we're here, and I think everyone's pretty happy with this, and we got good turnout. So, yeah, by the way, if you're watching and you've never seen me before, could you put 1 in the chat just so I get an idea of how many new people we got? While you do that, let me get this next video ready. Okay, well, there's an ad. I'm glad I didn't pull it up right away. We'll wait for that ad to finish. But yeah, let's see. We got a few people. Oh, pause that. Yeah, for the people that are new, that have never seen me before, let me go over this again. I said it at the start, I'll say it now. I helped co-found Hardlands with Kit about almost 8 years ago. It's been a long time. And I was on every single show with him for basically the first 6 years. And Kit has basically taken over wonderfully since then. And it's allowed me to focus on the other stuff that we do. And so, me and Kit have worked together. All the stuff that you see around us is me and Kit worked to build. The entirety of Hardlands Media, the entirety of 99 Perspectives, was built off of I think a Galaxy S6 smartphone 8 years ago, or something of that nature. Yeah, and so if you don't know, I work on the other stuff that 99 Perspectives does, which is our entertainment channels and our production studio. That's basically most of what I do, and it's frankly because Kit's doing just such a kick-ass job here, growing Hardlands on his own, and I think he's doing a great job. And so there's not a lot of need for me to be on because Kit nails it, and then he knows that whenever he needs me on, if he needs a day off, I'll be here. So it just goes to show how good of a job he's doing that I'm not on a lot. Okay, with that being said, let's pull up our next story. Oh, and Do you guys think I'm wearing pants or not? Okay, so this is just a story about Democrats realizing what we've been saying for forever.
Marched along the UAW picket lines when I was a senator since 19.
I love. He's like, I'm here because you guys haven't endorsed me yet. I think isn't that what happened?
But I tell you what, first time I've ever done it as president. Oh, look. One thing is real simple, and to be very brief. The fact of the matter is that you guys, the UAW, you saved the automobile industry back in 2008 and before. Made a lot of sacrifices, gave up a lot, and the companies were in trouble. But now they're doing incredibly well. And guess what? You should be doing incredibly well too.
I just want to point out, look at how happy everyone behind him looks. They're just smiling. They don't look like they're trying to hold back frowns like, oh, this is the first time you've talked to us when we didn't fully endorse you immediately. Let me know in chat if I'm wrong about that, but I remember that they haven't fully endorsed him yet. Or something. Or the membership isn't.
Stick with it, because you deserve the significant raise you need and other...
You deserve a significant raise, but if you motherfuckers ever try to stop working, we will break that strike with an act of Congress. Anyway, we're here to support you. I'm Joe Biden.
benefit.
Let's get it.
Get back who we lost, okay? Yeah. We can say to them, it's about time them to step up for us. Thank you. Heard me say it many times. Wall Street didn't build the country. The middle class built the country. Unions built the middle class. That's a fact. So let's keep going. You deserve what you've earned, and you've earned a hell of a lot more than you're getting paid now. Thank you very much.
Man, we really need a reset of some kind so that America's not... Here's the problem. As long as America's an empire, all the issues that we talk about every day are never going to get solved. America has to not be an empire. It's like literally mathematically true. So when America stops being an empire, that's when we'll get healthcare, because all of a sudden we can't blow up people in other countries to make money. We'll have to, well, hopefully not blow them up here. And so James Carville, the guy who was historically, I'm married to a different party from a different woman. Oh my God, look at me. This is worth, that guy. He's saying that Biden could lose to Trump. I don't know. We've only been saying that here on independent media for ever. Yeah, so he got, and then when that happens, they're going to go, who's RFK? We are going to have Gavin Newsom sit in for this, and that'll definitely not make things worse. This is why the Democratic Party is such a mess. Because they have the potential of organizing themselves in a way that they would win every election like they used to when post-New Deal, when the Democrats were aligned with unions and workers. But they didn't. They decided to go the corporate direction of the Republicans. So it's lesser of two evils. It's, I mean, you guys know all this, but I'll just say, okay, so you see the definitely Real Hardlands media behind me. Let's say that level right there, anything below here, you're underwater and drowning. America starts up here. Lesser of two evils. So you gotta vote for the lesser of two evil. 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 Gotta vote. Oh, now you're underwater. That's what they don't get. Everyone is so short-term, trying to maintain the elite way of life. And that is, don't pay workers, don't make the economy a place where workers can get paid a lot. Make it very hard for small businesses to do the same. And mainly because the healthcare cost is tacked on. I mean, we know, I don't even have to explain this to you guys. We know the issues we're dealing with, but as long as America is empire facing, we're never going to get to them because empires focus externally. So, oh, we got a quick super chat from Leprechaun Alley, 1999. Thank you so very much. Kit is on an emergency samurai mission. The Dalai Lama is trapped in the 12th dimension and needs the power of Shinto and Shoni to return Shh, we're not supposed to tell them the real story. Shh. Keep those conspiracies going, my friends. Let's see if we can even top that. That's a great one. And so, what are we doing right now? Democrats are trying to get. It's like, okay, let me describe a person, and you tell me if this is Trump or Biden. Super old, spent most of their life with the Democratic Party, super corrupt. Their family has a very questionable history of corruption and scandal. They are backed by incredibly powerful, wealthy people. They say stupid stuff and make gaffes all the time. Have a lot of family tragedy. Someone help me. We keep adding more in the chat. You get exactly what I'm saying. We are electing the same person and acting like there's a meaningful difference. So he's worried. Yeah, the political consultant of Clinton. By the way, Clinton, thanks for setting all this up for us. Also, Clinton, I don't accept the results of this election. But that's fine. It's fine when that happens. You know how it is. Corona Ursa, 199. How does the U.S. not be an empire? The empire falls. This is when you're on an empire track. It's like a roller coaster. You go up and 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 up, and then eventually the world changes enough that you can't maintain that control, and it falls down. And already the U.S. is already in that. The fact that we're restricting freedoms, the fact that what happened in Afghanistan, the fact that all the things are happening are already indications of us going down the path. It's literally like being in a roller coaster. When you're going up that, you can't get out of the roller coaster. You're strapped in. The path is already determined, and the U.S. was always going to be the most powerful empire ever when World War II happened, because Russia or USSR was completely destroyed. I had someone explain it. I thought it was a great explanation of a metaphor. Imagine if all of the east coast of America was destroyed, and a decent amount of the center of the country was as well. That's what happened to the USSR, so they don't have an industrial base. Europe obviously was bombed to hell, so they don't have an industrial base. Japan was bombed to hell. They don't have an industrial base. China's bombed to hell. They don't have an industrial base. No one has the ability to maintain and project a large military, except the U.S. That's the reason why the U.S. is an empire. It's not even that we chose it. It's that the world chose it for us. It's our turn. Our turn. You ever wonder that the first empire is in Egypt, and then it goes to Persia, then it goes to Greece, then it goes to Rome, and then it goes to both either China or the Middle East. Then it jumps over to the UK. Now we're just the first America's continent's empire. It's going to go to someone else, and then America gets off this high horse that it's on, and it's up to us. Really, the most important thing that we can do is continue to build people's perspectives. Because when America does fall, what we've built up will be the thing that people are choosing among. And so if we don't do a good job of preparing the country for the right decision, someone else will choose it for us. So what we're doing right now that is incredibly important is determining America after the collapse. And that's, as much, I know it's like Italian and all that, but what is Italy right now? It's like a tourist location. I don't want America to be a tourist location. What is Britain right now? Just trying its best at failing. I don't want to be what the UK is. I'd like the US to fall. And what happened to Greece? Was it to Greece? Tourist location. I'd rather the US actually survive this with some power to actually determine its own destiny and not just be drained of resources like these other countries have been. But it's up to us. It really is up to us. We are deciding the future right now in the present, because that's when everything gets decided. You never, when 9/11 happened and everyone reacted, it was already decided. You couldn't change the outcome at that point, but you could if you did it 10 years ahead of time. That's what I'm trying to say. We right now determine the future. We have no control over the present. All we have is the priorities that we set in people's minds, and that's power. All right, let's move on to another story. Boop. We only get to prioritize how the future takes place. The present's already decided by the past. So never try to fix the present. Fix the future in the present. That's the way to do it. Like, what did me and Kit want to do when we started Hardlands? We wanted to get people to think about more choices than they did normally. And we've reached millions of people from that point of view into the future, which is our current past, that have accomplished it. So a lot of you guys think slightly differently about the world because me and Kit exist within it. But we didn't choose that at the present when we chose it. We chose it in the past to try and affect the future, which is our current past, which has affected the present, if that makes any sense. But that's all of us have that power. We just have to think of it in that way. The present's already decided. The future's up for determination. So choose something that changes something in the future. Right? That's why talking about Medicare for All is still important. We still have to remind people for that. So when the choice does come up again, we have a higher chance of succeeding than if we didn't do it. So it is a little bit, it's like rolling dice. So there's luck involved, but enough people rolling enough die, it's a high enough number. Yeah, let me just really check anything. So do we have anything else on all the other social medias? Let me know if we do. But otherwise, we have one more story. I thought this was pretty funny. So Kit found this one. This is from RT. We got to think of a funny abbreviation for RT besides Russia Today. How about Reality Tomorrow? I think that fits with what I was saying. Yeah, it's like the past is set in stone. The present is stone that has been set by the past, and the future is stone that hasn't been laid yet. The only thing we therefore can control is the future. Okay, so from Axios. So Biden's trying not to fall over. Again, a decision that the Democrats made in the past to try and fight Trump because they felt that Biden was the safest choice and got around him because he was connected to Obama, has led to the present where they're trying to keep him from falling down and keep him running in the election. Since tripping on a sandbag and falling in view of the Air Force Academy, Biden, who's 80, has been wearing tennis shoes more often and using short stairs. This guy's just, what can I say? Let me summarize this article. Biden's falling apart, and the Democrats are stuck with the decision they made in the past, and they're trying desperately to control their future by figuring out if they can let go. That's the Carville story we covered a second ago. That's this story. They're realizing Biden is not a good choice in the future, but they have no idea what to do because if they take Biden down, they have this guy named RFK. They basically already pre-rigged the primary. Remember, Democrats rig primaries, Republicans rig elections. That's the study. That's the way to look at it easily. So the Democrats pick who they want to run against a Republican who is picked by their base. But again, everything works out the way that everyone wants because Democrats have a much wider base of people with different ideas. So it's more important for the Democratic Party to put their machinations into primaries where they can pick the one that agrees with their worldview. Whereas Republicans, they have a key structure that's smaller. They have a smaller, more concise base. So picking the primary isn't really as important because they're going to be similar as getting the election one. And so that's why those things are true. That's why the Democrats have super delegates and Republicans don't. It's because the Democratic has a wider base. And so they have to ignore the ones that they don't like, and that means putting their elbow on the scale whenever they possibly can. Let's see. So let's see. So everyone's a band. Again, I don't even feel like I need to read this article. It's up here for you guys to read if you want. Look at this. I'll scroll through it. Whee! they know Trump's going to run. The thing that they're most putting, I know the Democrats, if I'm a Democratic strategist head, my thought is we better get Trump in jail before the election or we're screwed. They're betting everything on that. That's why everyone's trying to put Trump in jail. That's why they keep finding new charges. If Trump was not running for election, this wouldn't happen. This is, again, why is Trump so hated? Because politics has become very a fight. And so everyone's fighting, and so everyone's fighting, and so everyone's fighting. And why is everyone fighting? Well, because before Trump, there was this guy called Obama that everyone was fighting. And so people had Obama derangement syndrome when he was in office. Then they got Trump derangement syndrome. Now we got Biden. This is America fighting itself, fighting over social policies because the economic stuff has already been decided and it's going to Ukraine. It's going to military bases. It's going to the F-35 fighter. Everything is decided on a set way that has been chosen on a path way in our past that we have no ability to stop now that it's in motion. But we do, again, have all the power in the future when America is not an empire. That's what we have to prepare to control right now. So when it happens, we have a much better chance of winning that fight. Roger Meadows tipped $2 in chat. Danny, where you been? I've been around. I said it before. I was in chat. I'm around. Kid's been doing such a good job. I just haven't needed to be here. He's off today. So, going on to this, the story doesn't really matter. It does matter, obviously. That's what we're talking about it. But in the bigger picture of what's happening, it doesn't really matter. Because the Democrats, if the second, I'll tell you, here's a prediction. This is a tree structure of what I think is going to happen. If Trump gets to the end and doesn't go to jail by that time, and he wins goes through the whole process with the Republicans, he's just going to win. He's already trending in that way. Biden's just a terrible administration. And so people are going to choose him. What'll happen, and so it'll be Trump versus Biden, and if Biden loses, they'll go, well, he wasn't ready for it anyway. If Trump is knocked out, I actually think they're going to replace Biden with someone else that they like more. Like a Newsom or something like that. Because the Republicans will be in disarray. No one can command that level of control that Trump does. So I think Biden actually goes if Trump goes. I think that if Trump goes away, Democrats go, Biden has decided to not do this, we're picking someone else. But I think that's basically how it's going to go. Because that's, again, when you're a large organization, the amount of ways you can make a choice is limited. Again, that's like I said, we know exactly, very close to the exact number of people that are going to die of heart attacks next year. We have no idea if you watching are going to die of a heart attack next year. Same idea. Same exact idea. So, here we have it. They're trying not to make Biden fall over. Just because, this, like, people get like this, and it was like, we talked about this with Federer, or whatever his name was. Historically speaking, if you're a person in power, don't show that you're sick. It really is a terrible thing for you, even in democracy. It just destroys, ironically, for people in power, more than actually you, the person not in power, is it more important. Because they need to know that they're going to still be getting their payouts. So Biden's, don't trip. Okay, it's nothing we didn't know before. We know he's falling apart. We know that America, it's like how, I can't think of a better way to summarize the American late empire collapse that we're going through than the two people that are running in each parties. And the fact that the parties are like, no, it has to be these people. Mainly the Democrats. But we are where we are because of what we chose in the past. And sadly, the people that chose in the past are the people that are running the country right now. But they're getting old. And the empire's falling apart. And no man rules forever. We will have our chance to do everything that we need to do and to take power back for ourselves. We already have the control, they already have the agreement of much of the country already. Just they're so divided on stupid social issues. Again, it's like we could fight about police brutality, or we could actually make every public defender, like here's a perfect one. Ready for this, Bill? Ready? Every public defender has the same amount of money to defend a client as the prosecution and the district attorney uses to prosecute the client. Equal funding on both sides. You've just changed the entire criminal justice system with a small economic remedy, allowing public defenders to actually be a well-paid organization basically overnight. You bring more people into the public defender's space because there's money in there. One motion, small economic change, changes everything down the line and how everything plays out. Now maybe cops won't be as confident to go after people if they know that they're all going to get really good representation. Make payouts for actions that cops do. Half of that money has to come from either the police budget or the retirement fund. You get what I'm saying? Like, you could do all the other stuff that we're talking about and try and get into people's heads through social issues and have everyone commit trench warfare, which is the current way we do things. Because, again, why are we doing trench warfare? There's nothing that we're going to give to people economically in this country. That's why we're doing trench warfare. That's why it feels like we're not getting anywhere. Because people are fighting over things that don't exist. I mean, they do, but they really don't in a big scale thing. Like, we can argue over cop cities. We can argue over all these things. But what are we really changing by spending our time on those things? The way you change it is to make small... I always like to think, what is the smallest change that I could make in a system that would have the biggest outcome? So, make it so that settlements are half out of police budgets or retirements. You're going to see them be very careful and have all the public defenders match funding with whatever the prosecution spends. It's going to make the prosecution be very much more considerate about the crime bills. Again, small change changes everything. Make it so that cops have to go to a federal police academy and get a 4-year degree and then go to a state school which teaches the specific extra laws of the state for an extra 1 or 2 years. I don't know. That's just a super narrow slice of just talking about police. But you guys get what I'm saying. Everything is at our disposal. We can choose to fix everything. But if we spend our present talking about things that aren't going to change the future, then we're really just helping the people that are currently in charge. Yeah, and I see a lot of people have some really good comments in chat. Let's see if I can go through. Yeah, oh, I love this one from Buttercup Taylor. Kit is in Scotland trying on kilts. I like that. That actually fits really well. Kit went to Hawaii to place bugs on Oprah's ranch. That's a great one. I love this conspiracy theories, guys. These are wonderful. Kit is on DMT in the Amazon, Peru. Well, he'd be on ayahuasca, wouldn't he? Or he's on that other one. Maybe I'm thinking of something else. He's in the Matrix kicking Agent Smith's butt. I love that. Daniel, a long time to see from Cape Synth. Yeah, it's great to see everyone again, honestly. It's been... YouTube has to fix this. I almost did this thing where if you tap the screen on a phone twice in the proper spot, you'll just automatically block someone by accident. It's happened to me once before. Person never forgave me for it, sadly. Yeah, let's see. Yeah, I think Yeah. So yeah. So like blaming things on the patriarchy. How to play that out? How does going down? How does putting your energy? That's what it's. This is why I call them trench warfare issues rather than other things, because it's like, what do you have to do? Well, you have thousands of people running at each other, damaging each other over and over again, so that you can take an insignificant amount of land. Hey guys, remember when the Democratic Party was all about abortion rights and everything, and then the Supreme Court happened, and they're like, shh, we're not talking about that anymore. It's not making money. What? So that's a good thing. I think we'll wrap up for today. I think we got everything. We talked about everything that we need to. But I'll ask you guys to reflect on something. What is an action that you can do repeatedly that has a chance of disproportionately affecting the future? For me and Kid, it was creating something like this and talking to people. It's our lives. It's a lot of our time is dedicated, but the amount of time you guys watch is so much larger than what we put in. So we're able to do that through that way. Thank you, Courtney L. Conover, for $2. Support for the amazing Daniel running HLM today. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. It's really great to be back. I was sort of worried. I was like, I haven't done this in a year. I wonder if I'm still good at it. I actually think I'm a little more relaxed than I have been previously, because I haven't been filling my mind with just politics. And I gotta say, diversify your thoughts. Always try and look for new ideas everywhere, and apply the ideas you find in one place to another. All of us have autonomy to change the world, but we generally apply it in the least useful setting. Think of the thing that you can do every day that doesn't take much of your time or your effort that will lead to. So I'll give an example. For 99 Perspectives, which is, we do stuff for businesses, nonprofits, and Every time I go to a small business, I try to organically have them talk about their marketing or lack thereof. And if they talk about it, like, man, I'm looking for someone, give them one of my cards. Good way to get clients. Doesn't take any. I'm already at the store. I'm already buying something. I'm not really taking any additional of my time, and I'm giving them a business card that costs 3 cents. Good use of my time. And sometimes it works. Well, I would say 9 out of 10 times it doesn't work, but in the one time it does, I've spent 30 cents and no additional time to get someone to spend about $1,000 on a package. So think in your own life, what is something you can do that makes it? And maybe that's literally something like, I found a way to raise money to give to the YouTube channels I like, or a charity, or here's a way that I'm doing to get someone that's elected to listen to this thing I want to say. In a small town, it doesn't take that much to become very powerful. Oh, thank you, Vincent Shade Tree, $5. Thanks for all the good work and reporting you and everyone else is doing, Daniel. Thank you so much. Let me just really quickly check on Rockfin. And if you guys are on Rumble anywhere else and I missed a check, can you... Oh, we got some stuff on Rockfin. Let's say... Oh, I caught it. It didn't break. It's at the edge of the desk. Boom. We're back. Okay. There we go. We got a mark from TD, tip $10. Kit and Daniel provide thoughtful, detailed conversations. I appreciate that. That's what we hope to do. Roger Meadows, tip $2. Democrats are victims of their own arrogance. Yeah. Yes. We got to decide in order to rebuild a new order, the old order must first go. Yeah. We have to do both simultaneously. As they fall, we have to rise, and we have to be ready at that moment, and no other moment will do. I'm all for tearing it down so we can build it back together, but this time a new constitution to establish a new branch of government, CBI branch. Dan, you live in a citizen ballot initiative state for amendments. You should run those to the Illinois Constitution. Yeah, that would be a perfect example. What is it? Right now, it's a citizen ballot initiative takes $200,000 to get off the ground and on the ballot, roughly, in terms of effort, time, and fees. So again, $200,000, it's a lot of money. to get something in front of people to vote on, not a lot of money. And again, there's always something that can be done. There's always a niche that someone hasn't picked that you see. Always pick the thing that takes the least amount of your time and energy and money that causes the biggest change in the world around you, or the biggest potential change in the world around you. If enough of us do it, even if 10% of us succeed, that's amazing outcome and how people's lives will be altered. Yeah. So, oh yeah, people are wondering. Okay, I'm going to have everyone vote, and that'll be the last thing. 1, type in 1 if you think I'm wearing pants. 2, if you think I'm not. I'll wait. I'll wait. I'll keep waiting. Okay. Okay, I'm waiting. I'm waiting to see. We're going to see who the good predictors are in this crew. Gray Walker, that's funny. Okay. Okay, so I'm seeing a resounding of 2s, and then the other people are just correct. Thank you to the 1s. You won that game. Green screen pants. Ah. That's a new one. Oh, George, everyone was wondering that they're too short. There you go. I think that we just answered. Look at that, guys. The shortest amount of effort. You got to see if I'm wearing pants or not. You pulled it off. Was it important? Debatable. But it was fun. So, guys, I want to thank all of you for tuning in today, letting me replace Kit for today. Kit will be back on tomorrow. And just remember, I'm only back on when Kit's sick or can't make it. So, it's up to Kit. See you guys.